One of the things that's really interesting about Zuckerberg that I noticed is like, in his early years, like he was pretty alpha. Like he was alpha as fuck, right? Like he basically stole a lot of the code for Facebook from the
He was
Winklevoss
quite.
twins.
I don't
He
think
was
that's
quite
alpha.
quiet.
I think it's Weasley.
Well, he was quite
Weasley,
dark
but he was
triad, wasn't he?
unapologetic about it, right? He was like, screw this, like I'm doing this, man. And he just like,
But he's on his
Wow.
game, man. That's his
Yeah.
hustle.
He's
But-
quite dark triad, wasn't he? Really, if you watch that movie, what was it, The Social Network? He comes across as very sort of Machiavellian, sort of dark triad in that.
Yeah,
But he's a weasel though. He's definitely not alpha.
Yeah, but
he's not alpha. That's like that's backstabbing beta shit.
So like one of the things that John and I were talking about a week ago, we were just shooting the shit over a quick call, and I said to him, basically the opening. I know he kind of hopped in after we opened, but I know he knows what we're talking about here. I'm like, can you name one billionaire that is an alpha male that's unplugged from society's lies? And we couldn't really come up with anything.
What about
we said like Dan Bilzerian, like but what's he worth? A couple hundred.
What about
million?
You can't say his name without people going, he buys his chicks.
Who's that?
What about John McAfee? What about the late John McAfee? He was a billionaire, wasn't he?
Yeah, no.
Virgin guy. What's his name? Branson?
I don't think he was a billionaire, but I think he was quite up there. But I would say this.
Branson was when he was younger, for sure. Like if you read Branson's biography, for sure he was when he was younger, maybe up until about the age of 30, 35. But I think that there's an argument too, like when a lot of these guys get married, we know their testosterone levels drop. They get henpecked or cucked to some degree. It's like, to what degree are you going to be, pecked and like chopped down a few notches? So that's going to change their personality. Vince McMahon's a good example. Okay, so what about him? Because he's worth a couple of $1 billion, right?
Vince is a boss. He's a billionaire. So what's the thing we're saying here? Like, why are so many
so many like wealthy men plugged in betas?
Like, we're talking about betas or red pill and alpha? What's the difference here?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what. Why don't you just kind
blue
of
pill
roll with
chumps?
It? Yeah, like blue pill chumps, like average frustrated chumps. For the most part.
I'll tell you this:
like outside of money and chasing excellence.
One of the feathers in my cap is I have red pilled a mate of mine who is worth in the deca millions, and he is an insufferable douche. Like to tell him anything. And when I met him, I didn't know who he was, and I don't really care if somebody has money or not. I just like talk to him as a man. And I was just like, listen, dude, you're a fucking dork, and you're real creepy when you do these certain things. And I was like, this is why you're failing. And I was like, you're a boomer. Like, he's not. He's like in his early 40s. But I'm like, dude, you're a boomer. Like, the way you think about girls, the way you communicate with them, the way you text. I was like, I called him the rainbow F-bomb, quite frankly. I was like, dude, you're acting like a damn rainbow F-bomb. And I was like, girls are not going to respect this, and they're not going to be turned on by this. Like, you saw about this. You maybe saw this was on like CNN or something, like How to Treat a Woman, but this is not how it works. And I had to like consciously beat this into his head over a series of months till finally he got fed up. He got on Tinder, and he was just very direct with his seduction. And he scored himself a really hot 19-year-old. And I was just like, yeah, dude, because you've been a weird, creepy, like beta boomer your whole life. And like, yeah, that works in your corporate world where you know how it is in corporate. You got to be fake. You got to be backstabbing. You got to be devious. You got to like pretend to be somebody you're not the entire time. I was like, that doesn't work with chicks. Like, they're going to sniff that out like within the first date. But it's just so hard to tell these guys anything. And another thing is this too. I think like what he interpreted as disrespect when I met him, I was just like, no, you're wrong. Right? Because when you're a millionaire, when you're a multimillionaire, people know you have money, people you have power, they bow down to you. You get surrounded by yes men.
Tell you yes all the time.
Everything. I think I could buy this girl flowers. Yeah, man, it was great on Titanic. I think I should. I think I should do this. I think I should do that. And literally, there's a 99% chance when you're talking to a guy and getting dating advice for him, he is blue pill. There's literally a 99% chance. Yeah. So, that's what happens with these guys. And I think that's why they get in a lot of trouble, because then they start, like, I think a perfect example is this tech lead guy, that like weird Chinese.
Yeah. I've actually talked with that guy before, but yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
He's like an insufferable beta with a power trip, right?
I actually tried to get him on my show because because he mentioned some of my stuff in a couple of his videos, and people sent me the videos.
That dude's
and I
all
DM'd
brand.
him, and he's like, "Nah, I don't."
He's
really
all
think
brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure, Rolo. But I can tell that guy's a real twerp in real life. I could just tell by the way he acts. And it's like, no wonder you got taken to the cleaners with your woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
The more of a bitch you are, the more your woman's going to punish you when she breaks up. And so that's why she fleeced him up and
nice
down.
Guys get destroyed
She
in breakups.
took his kid to Japan, man. She bailed like here today and then gone tomorrow, man.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like, you can't have that conversation, you know, with men when you're trying to offer them some level of protection in their lives. Like, hey, you know, like, there's some fucking landmines out there that you can step on, and here's a roadmap that you might want to look at so you don't step on them. Oh no, they lose their shit.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to get past that because, again, they're so ingrained in their belief systems too. Because
some of the worst.
Yeah, because you know they've been telling people you're wrong their entire life. That's why they're rich, right? But in this sense, like, it's a completely different skill set. Just because you can make millions of dollars, still doesn't mean those principles are going to apply to female nature. One of the most complicated thing you could do with your entire life is to figure out women and fucking have a successful womanizer life. And then I think personally, like, that's why a lot of these guys, they just get so rich because, honestly speaking, do you think Steve Jobs would have been as productive? Elon Musk would have been as productive if he was like me? He just always had 4 girls on the phone ready to roll. Just like, I pick you up. Hey, come, baby. Hey, come.
Elon Musk is a really good example of that too, because if you look at the women that have been in his life for as long as, like, he's with this. Is he still with Grimes right now?
Grimes,
I think he probably still is. Yeah.
Grimes, the flavor
look
of the
at
year.
his dating history or his, like, women history. It's like, wow,
it's fucking atrocious, man.
Yeah, and the reason
he's been married
for that
like 3 times, like twice to the same woman.
Wasn't he with Amber Heard for a while too?
He was, yeah.
He sniffed that one out.
And I did
dodging that video.
And I did a video on Elon Musk because I think it was Neil Strauss that did an interview on him, and I kind of broke down the interview.
I remember that.
And a lot of people lost their shit. Like, how dare you talk about Elon Musk that way? He's my hero. And it's like, whoa, hold on a second, dude. Like, I'm just, like, holding up a mirror and just reflecting back some facts here, right? Like, these are all factual things that happen. Like, he was curled up in a ball during the interview, basically crying because he couldn't keep it together. Because he didn't understand female nature. World class at building fucking electric cars, raising money, sending rocket ships into space. But with women and his personal life, I mean, like, look at who he's invited into his personal life. A woman named Grimes.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the backstory with Grimes?
Yes. Well, another good example is also if you look at, like, a guy like Anthony Bourdain, for example, when he ended up committing suicide, and I believe it was back in 2018. I did a series of shows with Pat Campbell back then. And we were talking about that. And when I brought up Anthony Bourdain, I said he was very blue pill when it came to women, right? People just ran me up the flagpole. Well, you don't know who he is. You don't know. He's got more money than you're professionally jealous. And it's like this. I'm not attacking the dude. Yeah. Obviously, he's done something very constructive with his life.
Who is this?
Anthony Bourdain.
That guy's a fucking pussy.
Hey, my channel.
Well, he's not anything anymore.
Yes. Yeah, he's not anything anymore because because of the decisions and because of this. He's what I call the terminal beta. Right. He was so invested in that hope and that romantic ideal and that soulmate myth that, he went like all of his friends would say the same thing. They just did a documentary about him not too long ago. And his friends would say the same thing, that he wears his heart on his sleeve. Right. He really wanted to have, like, the love of his life. And of course, when you have that kind of money and when you have that kind of status, when you have that kind of fame and everything else that came with Anthony Bourdain, I don't think he was a billionaire, but he's certainly a millionaire. You become a target because women sniff that out. They go, wow, this is a guy who's stacked with money. He's got some fame. He's got some status. People want him. He's a hot item. He's a big fish. He makes a really good mark for women who understand what he represents. And those women are exactly the kind of women that he ought to be, steering clear of. Yeah, avoiding. But because he is so locked into that blue pill romantic ideal, he puts himself out there and he becomes very vulnerable to the point where a girl like Asia Argento, Satanist Asia Argento, witchcraft to Asia Argento, was the catalyst for him hanging himself, because she was seen, by the paparazzi in Italy with her 29-year-old boy toy, because she presumed that he was adult enough to handle a poly relationship or an open relationship. Apparently he wasn't. And that was when Rose McGowan, by the way, who's like been in the news recently because she's now the conservative little sweetheart. I always point this out. I say, how's Asia Argento doing, Rose? Because she jumped right to her defense when that happened. And I'm like, where's that question? Where are people talking about that now? Nobody is.